getting started here in just a second, being that it is 11:30 on this beautiful Monday morning.
All right, Maguire, we are live on YouTube and we're good on Zoom.
Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Good morning, early morning or late morning, depending on where you are in the country. But today is Monday, which means we are going to be getting into our leadership locker room. That's what Mondays are for. I'm filling in for David Rutz today. If you're brand new with DAC, my name is Maguire Tate. I am a part of the inside team. I'm a broker as well in the field. So have my hands in a lot of different things, but my daily motions are very similar to you guys. So connecting with business owners, helping those in need, as well as doing some stuff on the corporate side as well, making sure things are running smoothly. But I have some things prepared today. I'm actually fairly excited to get into what I have today, being that in this in our business. Being a leader means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I wanted to cover over some things that I think are important, being a leader, that kind of we see not only in DAC, but in other assets, um, or other parts of our life. And I think that they speak volumes. So I'm going to get in right into it. I'm not sure how long it'll go today, but I'm just going to take my time and work through each of my points that I have here. So the first thing that I wanted to jump right into is what the core mission of DAC is, right? And obviously the main concept or description of that would be to, serve clients while honoring God. And if we dive a little bit deeper into that, that really means that we're guiding and helping business owners to access working capital, and serving them in the most professional and respectable way. Right? We're not just the same as others in this industry. We separate ourselves not only because our platform is better, and we believe that, but also that we as brokers and communicators are better. We don't succumb to the same level of communication that we find in our industry. So those are the two things that we should and we do carry with us every day, right? Whatever we're doing, that's what we want to have in the back of our minds, and that's how we're able to lead so confidently. Being that we have pride in our platform, our service, as well as how we communicate, and being honest with people, right? Doing whatever it takes to be honest, even if that means, in that certain time, maybe funding isn't the best option for them. But there's no question, no doubt that being that transparent, serving clients while honoring God, that will all come to light, and it does come to light. And that creates a better relationship no matter what it is down the road with any client. So keeping that in mind, it can make us a better broker, it can make us most certainly a better leader. So I think that's very important. The next thing I want to touch on is, as a leader, a lot of people think, if I'm a leader, I'm controlling everything. I'm the one that, is responsible to answer for anything that's going on, or I'm the one that has to be the sayer or the doer. But there's a lot of things that we can't control, whether that's in business or in life. There's a lot of things that, we just have zero control over, whether that's, the what's happened to the person that we're on the phone with leading up to that phone call. Maybe they're having a rough day or a catastrophic day, or maybe they get the funds and they use it for something that may, that we didn't discuss on the phone. There's certain things that are just out of our hands, right? We can only do so much as a broker, as a leader, as a father, sister, brother, whatever we are. So keeping that in mind, right? We can't be the end all be all, but we can do our best to do, what the right things, the things that matter, and stay consistent, right? So my main point with that is there's certain things that are out of our control, but the things that are in our control, the things that we can handle every day and make sure we're doing, those are the things that make us a true leader. And those are the things that when we lay our head down at night or we self-reflect, those are the things that we should be critiquing ourselves on and priding ourselves on when they go well. So very important part. Now that goes into why we as brokers matter, right? We're not. I wanted this to be the main point for this week. If we can keep in mind that we're not here to sell funding, but we're here to solve pain points that are keeping um, businesses alive, or that they will keep a business alive. So why we're doing this, right? Not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it. There's businesses out there right now who don't know about DAC, don't know about the Bank Breezy platform, that it could change their lives for the better. And I'll get into really how deep that impact of change can go towards the end. But I just want us to keep that in mind this week, as we're making calls, as we're talking to people, sending an email, receiving a call. What we do, we're not just here to get them the best funding, which is great that we do, but we're really here to solve something that's going on that has risen up, in their business, and I'm sure it impacts them mentally and things like that. So if we can understand that, that's another thing that's going to separate us from, the other communicators, I'll just call them, in our industry. So keeping all these things in mind that I've said so far, we can only control what we can control, keep the mission in mind, why we're here, what we do, what makes us different. And that we're, as great as our products are, if we can understand that we're here to solve a pain point, we're here to solve something that has been missing for a business owner out there, and we can be that connecting plug for them, if you will. That is what makes us different, and that's always what's going to separate us, and that's why. Um, 10 years from now, we'll be looked at as the company that isn't like the rest, right? Not only can they help, but the way that they help is different from the rest. So that's just kind of an intro to, my leadership segment here. Now, the next thing I wanted to bring up is, to be a good leader, um, it means a lot of things. Like I said, we might feel like we have to be in charge of everything, or we might have to be literally leading, the herd, or what have you. But in my opinion, to be a good leader, one of the most important things is to be consistent, and then constantly improve, um, and be an example, be the example, right? So maybe you don't need to be the doer, but you do need to be an example. And a couple things that we can do, right, to improve ourselves as a leader is, one, setting goals. And I'm not here to tell you guys what goals, that you should set. I think we all are, hold ourselves as experienced brokers, or maybe you're new and you want to get there. But um, setting goals in general is something, whether it's in your daily life or with the business, in DAC, that's something that's going to give you an end goal, a point to where you can say, I'm going to get there, and that radiates, to others around you, that, if he's setting these goals, he or she is setting these goals, hitting these goals, holding themselves to a standard within their own production. It's very contagious, and it's just something that all leaders do. If you look at any leader, you look at Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, um, even Oprah, every person has their stats that they track. I want to get here, I want to get here. What do I need to do to make sure that I get there? So that's number one. Another is self-reflection. Um, Not to say that we need to constantly harp on ourselves or beat on ourselves, but self-reflection is a great way to check in with ourselves. Leaders think they have the answers, they just keep going, and people will flock to them as they go. But every single person needs a little bit of self-reflection to make sure, just like I mentioned, they're hitting their goals, or, they're doing what they can do to, whatever it is, increase their standards of what they're doing, or maybe they're not reaching out, or catering to people in their downlines as much, whatever it means to you as a person to self-reflect, um, because that is the most powerful way, I believe, to keep your head in the game. Setting goals is a numerical thing to keep you literally, falling in line, and then self-reflection kind of checks in with yourself mentally, so that you can continue being, a level-headed, level-minded leader to those around you. So, uh, keeping that in mind, um, the next thing I wanted to talk about is input versus output. Are you doing, quote unquote, it enough to see results? So as a leader, I've been doing some business development, roles with DAC, testing a lot of different things, seeing, you know, anything that could possibly help our broker, our brokerage family in our outreach, right? So I've tested many things over and over, different ways, little tweaks. And the biggest thing is, giving up before you can really see the output of your input. Or if you're not doing enough input of something, you may never even, get to see that output. So keeping that in mind, leaders, obviously, we're always trying to be the forefront of, a great idea or a great avenue for others to follow. That's, one of the most primary functions of a leader. So just make sure in our daily, I'm sorry, our daily routines throughout the week that we're really truly, monitoring the input, what we're doing, what we're putting out there, and then the output, what it's going to give us. So I'm sure you guys, understand what I'm saying very well, but just to give a little example, if you're sending out, a brand new email and it's something that, you think might um, warrant, a higher response rate or maybe a more of a relationship feel, if you send out 50 emails, it could be a great email, but it might take 500 for you to see that you're going to get 70 responses or 100 responses. Now, if you send out 40 or 50, there's no telling that those 40 or 50 may be people who are busy, just got funding, whatever it may be, right? There's not a high enough input to really see an output. So you may have a great email in front of you that could help out, 20 or 30 people in your team, but the input wasn't high enough for you to see the full effects of the outcome or the output, if you will. So keep that in mind. That's been very important during my journey, and I'm sure others as well, is making sure we, that again, that goes right back to setting goals. Can we say, I'm going to send X amount of emails so that I can ensure that if I only get, 5% response rate, it might not be a good email. But if I send out 40, there's a high chance that maybe I just sent out 40 that's not, like I said, somebody could be busy, somebody doesn't see the email, they just got funding, they're not into funding, whatever it may be. There's a lot of people out there. So if we're going to be, acting as a leader, we're going to be innovating, trying new things, make sure that the input is enough to where you can track the output, so you can get an actual sense for, what you're doing and how it's coming across. Um, I think that's very important. Something that I think we all kind of know, but it's good to reflect on it and bring it to light sometimes. Next, I want to talk about something that I actually came across over the weekend. I talked to Chat GBT a lot and just go back and forth, and it's it's crazy what it can come up with. But there was something that it brought up, and it was the ripple effect. It said what you guys, the industry that you're in, what you guys do, the way you guys hold yourself, and I'm talking about DAC, all of our brokers. It said the ripple effect you guys have is something that I think is very important. I said, well, go, expand further. What does that mean? And it said when you guys help a client, every funding, doesn't just help that business acquire capital. I mean, that's what it does, right? We're getting them a great offer on working capital, but also it impacts immediately the employees, the families of those employees, the customers, and the future of that business, right? So understand that if you ever need any motivation to help a new broker in your team or make those extra 10 phone calls or maybe it's 7:30 at night and you're out and about and you get a phone call, an inbound phone call, if there's ever a reason to um, have to give yourself a mini motivation or an uplift, just understand that the ripple effect of what we do is monumental. It's not, it could keep a business around for the next 15, 20 years, but it could also impact that community, the families in that community, um, the employees of that community, whatever it may be. So I think that's very important, being that sometimes we get very zoomed in on things. We have the best offers on funding and we can help your business today. And those things are all great. But if we can keep the first thing that I mentioned in mind, that we're here to obviously get them the best offers on working capital in the market, and that's great. That's what makes us um, competitive from a business standpoint, but from a people standpoint, from a humanistic standpoint, we also serve those clients in the most respectable and professional way, always. And then the ripple effect, why us doing that matters, right? We're creating that one-on-one relationship, or us with the business relationship, and we're impacting those in the community. And that ripple effect, that was just, I said, that was what I mentioned, was the effect that that business doing better would have on those people. But also, um, that impact is going to spread like wildfire, right? People are going to eventually, one way or another, see your impact that you had on that business, and whether that's a new broker or a new referral for a funding, that has its own ripple effect as well. But I wanted to touch on the human side of the ripple effect. Now there's the business side as well, that obviously benefits you, it benefits other businesses. So you can just see that if we operate in this way and we continue to plant our feet in the ground and say we're gonna be the best system, we're gonna be the best communicators, and we're gonna do it in an honest way, and we will never change that. I really don't know any other place out there that's competing with that on both sides. So it's a double, you know, um, it's a once those two things come together, it's powerful, and it's unmatchable. And I think that's what's going to really separate us. Now, leaders, it's our job to um, constantly push the line and see how we can make that even stronger and better. But just keeping those two things in mind for me personally, that keeps me motivated, and it keeps me in the right mind space when I'm talking to clients, how I'm talking to clients, and how I can be there for them. So the last thing, positive and active. So when I say this, I mean, um, with your team, with yourself, whatever it is, if someone in your team made the most calls that they've ever made, today or tomorrow, and obviously you're constantly talking with, your team members and things like that, those, even if it was one positive conversation that came from, let's say 200 calls that they made or something, that is a win. And why? It's because it's something you've never done before. You've now added something to your tool belt. So I know that, in this industry, in this business, that obviously wins are helping business owners, helping new brokers, get active, get their first client. All those things are great. But if we can celebrate a small win, just like a sports team, and they practice every day, they're not playing a game, but maybe somebody, finishes a sprint faster than they did a month ago, or whatever it is, they learn a new play and the guy doesn't mess it up this time. That's a win, because why? Because it's something that hasn't happened before. And now the next win is going to be something that was greater than that win that just happened. So keep it, there's so many things that go into being a good leader, but small wins and all wins are something that it keeps people, like I said, active, and it keeps them positive, right? So even when you have a day where you only had one, good call, that happened, and you got three email responses or whatever, and it's not even close to maybe your normal production, but you have small wins along the way, and that's going to keep you from doing the roller coaster of the, communication game, where you're like, oh, maybe today I didn't, win the Super Bowl, but I did do this, and I should pride myself on that. Or yeah, what, my somebody in my team hasn't had a client and or served a client in maybe 3-4 weeks, but they've created this, whatever it is, email campaign, and that's something they didn't know how to do before. So now they're just constantly improving, and we need to recognize those things, because this is an industry where not only are we virtual, but we're dealing with constant. Some people see it as um, wins or failures, and that's not how you last long in this space, right? So small wins, all wins, are going to keep our minds engaged. They're going to keep our minds positive, and moving forward. As long as we're moving forward, that means we're not stagnant, we're not moving backwards. And that is the most important part, in my opinion. And I would think a lot of people would agree with that as well. So, I know I've covered a pretty good amount, and I want to end on a quote that I'm a quote guy, so I love quotes that I find meaningful. And this one is by Simon Sinek. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the quote is: "Leadership is not about being in charge, it is about taking care of those in your charge." So I'm going to say that one more time. Leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge, whatever that means, right? Small wins, all wins, reminding of the ripple effects, the core mission, whatever it is that keeps you steady throughout the week is going to keep you in the game for the long run. And that's what this business is. We're not here to solve a mass problem before September 1st. We're not here to completely change the game of funding. We're here to let those know that we believe we have the best system in the game when it comes to alternative funding, and that we're going to take care of you better and differently than all others in this space. And we're always going to be that. It's like a home you can always come to. It's like a mom, a friend's mom that you always feel comfortable going to. You always know, no matter what happens, if you're out late, you want to, whatever it is, you can come to that space and you can be treated with respect. You can be treated with care, and you have a place that um, you can trust. And that's what's going to separate us. Our system is great, but if we have a great system with non transparent people and non-transparent leaders, it's no better than the rest. So I think with those two things in mind, it's a double-headed monster, and that's what's going to take us straight to the top. And I know everyone here believes that, but as leaders, as true leaders, we're the ones that set the tone. So whatever you have to do throughout the week, to remind yourself um, that this is the place to be. It's a great place to be. It's a great community to be in. Um, but sometimes we're all humans, right? Whether we're a leader or somebody who's being led, we're all humans. We wake up the same way, got to brush our teeth, got to get ready for the day. And sometimes even leaders need motivation. In fact, leaders probably need the most motivation because it allows them to impact others. So, I mean, if you saw my notebook, it's a lot written down, but in reality, it's not complicated. It's not a very in-depth thing, but it's great to keep ourselves in the loop, keep our minds positive, keep them engaged. Can Monday through Friday, even on the weekends, serve others and keep ourselves steady and consistent. Like I said, consistency is very, very, very important, not only for our own production, but of large teams. You want to be a good example and you want to be present, right? Um, so absolutely. So at this point, pretty good on time. Anything that they've been feeling lately. If you have any questions, I'm not here to answer any support questions. You can always, email support for that. So I don't have any system questions or anything like that. But if you just have something you want to share, something on your heart, maybe something you feel you've been doing well lately as a leader, or something maybe you're excited to work on, whatever it may be. If you just want to raise your hand, throw it in the chat. I'm going to look at the chat for a minute here, and we can call on anybody if you raise your hand.
Love that, Maguire. I love any time I get to hear what you put together for these calls. So that was awesome. Always a good reminder for the leaders in the field.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, can I write down? Yes, I will write down the name of the quote. I'll put it in the chat here.
While he's doing that, we have Ellen's hand up, so I'll go ahead and unmute you, Ellen.
Go ahead, Ellen. How you doing?
Hey, I'm great, McGuire. Good info, good info. Hey, I apologize. I had to take a quick phone call here in the last 5 minutes. If you've already covered this, forgive me, but did you mention an update on what we're doing tomorrow evening with our Tuesday night biz
Uh,
off and
I
training?
I did not. I did speak with David this morning. He was running somewhere when we last spoke, so I'm sure we'll have an email blast that's going up tonight. That'd be my assumption, and I'm sure we're going to send out multiple just that we have make sure everyone sees it at least once. So that would be my guess as of right now. Look out for an email blast, and then we're obviously we could possibly go live on Facebook and just make sure everyone sees that. But it wasn't ready to be announced, I know, for this 11:30. So an email and the Facebook would be my guess.
Awesome. I know we're starting at 7:30 with the biz op and then 8 o'clock with the special training and anniversary.
Correct.
That's good.
Yep,
All
yep.
right,
It's
awesome.
that's gonna go from about 8 to 9. So yeah, 7:30 to 9 is the yep, Morgan just put that. So 7:30 to 9 is the official time schedule that we have mapped out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, no problem, Ellen. It's good to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Did anybody have any, struggles, any wins, anything that they want to share? It could just be a good conversation you have with a new broker, whatever it may be, or a new trick, or you recent weeks. Anything you got? If not, we can definitely end it. So I know everyone's got things we got to do, but I would love to take this time if anybody just wants to share while we're all here together.
We have Matt Dehame. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
How you doing,
Hey there.
Matt?
Hey, Mr. Magoo, looking great. And I love
Thank you.
I love the framing of your call. Good job, man. Nice
Appreciate it.
layout, mindset. And
Absolutely.
speaking of which, which begats what, right? So what starts it? It starts with building momentum in a positive attraction, the energy of that idea of putting your mind on something and thinking positive thoughts for 17 seconds. Do it 4 times in a row. There's a great little lesson. I don't know who it was. I just saw it and it reminded me of how to get in that higher vibrational, we're not, mystic. It's true. You're tracking the Holy Spirit. And it's something putting your heart on gratitude, all the things in your life that are good. Count your blessings. We can't underestimate that as the core foundation of all the things that come from being in a higher a position of gratitude and power that comes from the Creator. So we're honoring God. Remember, and you started this. I thought of it. Said, hey, it's really cool. He's alluding to our core mission initially here. And I said, I couldn't help but think that should be uh, the continuation. The theme should be continued to the end. And I mentioned, of course, we all know that pride is the original sin. I always say, I'd rather say pride myself, right? I'm always catching myself, I'm proud. No, I'm grateful and humble by the opportunity and the experience, and I'm always learning, right? Because pride comes, then comes disgrace, right? So I always say, and if we're honoring God, we have to remind ourselves of that. Very careful. It's a fine line. I can easily be haughty and all that. Like, wait a minute, stop it, dude. Don't do that. Start realizing that you have a lot to learn. Today, you can offer somebody something positive and constructive, as you mentioned, as a good example. And here's mine. So this weekend, Saturday, this last, people, I appreciate your weekends, family time, and your priorities are obviously set. Tim Chase, I put one of our, forgive me, one of our agents put in a quote over the weekend, and I saw it. I said, wow, if you could see it at the Facebook page, we'll just look at it. I'm not going to say anything about it, but that's my interpretation of it. I kind of inverted this. He was quoting someone, this fellow's quote. He's a well-known, author. But I inverted and I switched it around. I said, that's an interesting quote, but I think that guy got it backwards. And, it's profound when you put God first in your life. And as Jesus says in Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of heaven and all these things shall be added unto you. So the priority is God first in our life, and all these things come. So if that's our foundation, and if no weapon formed against you shall prosper, right? And if God is with you, who could possibly be against you? So that's the contribution I want to share about Saturday. I got on the phone, started calling businesses. I know you people, I get it. Priorities for family, and that's critically important in your faith. But if you can get yourself to take action, decisively and say, I'm going to call a few businesses on Saturday just to see those that are open. You will be shocked. If you're calling during the week and you're running into resistance, try Saturday. You're going to find these people relaxed, chill, defenses down, like, all right, thinking about their business, thinking about next week. Perfect opportunity to approach them with that humility, with that, hey, I know it's Saturday, all that, you might have different priorities, but I didn't want to bother you during the week because I know you're busy. They love it. And I had 4 in a row. 4 in a row. I couldn't believe I usually have 1 in 5, good calls, 1 in 10, you know. But this is 4 in a row. Bing, bing, bing. I'm like, what is the difference here? And what can be learned? Well, it was my mindset, got positive, got very, centered in my the things that I have going for me and all the benefits, and a good positive attitude just came across on the phone. They hear it. They hear it in you. They hear either you're salesy, desperate, or that you're just in a helpful, focused, curious mode, not too overly excited, but not too, bland vanilla. You're just kind of right in between tonality, right? And it's a Saturday. Here's why I'm calling. It's just a good opportunity. I know you're busy, etc. Yeah, what do you got? They're really open. So just consider that. That's my little contribution today, Maguire. A little bit here and there, but man, you guys, tomorrow's gonna be fun. I'll be on, Nick, I'm sure you, and we're gonna help people, and that's what it's all about, man. Good job. Love you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love hearing from you, Matt. Love you as well. Um, I mean, it's a great point. It goes back to the second thing that I touched on, and why us brokers, us as brokers matter. It's the little things. It's knowing that a Friday night, if you got to put yourself in their shoes. You say it all the time, Matt. Put yourself in their shoes. Um, Friday night, obviously you've been working all week. You want to be with the family as a business owner. You want to, have some time to live your life. And when you receive a phone call like that on a Saturday, you could, I'm sure you could spin a web in your mind like, oh, but it's Saturday. They want to, yeah, but think about this, right? You get a call from somebody on a Saturday and they're here, with rejoiceful news about a way that we can serve you as a business owner and serve your business on a Saturday. There's a lot of people that work Monday to Friday, and that 5 o'clock hits on Friday, and they're like, "Hey, man, it's time to hit the beach. We got to do this," and that's fine. Obviously indulge in the beautiful parts of life, but when you get that call as a business owner on a Saturday, you're thinking, huh, this person they could have maybe taken the day off, whatever it is. They're here to serve me. And, maybe they do have a minute to speak because they're not working the business, or maybe they are working the business and it's who knows. But it's little things like that as leaders. When I said we constantly have to, creep up to that line and push that line forward, that's exactly the type things that, we're essentially mentoring, and that's doing the little things that maybe are unorthodox, right? Maybe you send some emails out instead of making some calls, on Friday, and you use Saturday to reach out. And we won't know unless we do those things, right? So as leaders, it's great to follow what works, but also looking out, keeping in mind for those others out there that maybe aren't pressing the boundaries as much. We're the ones that find the things that work, don't work, whatever it is. But if there's no leaders, then there's no one pressing that boundary. And that's exactly what you're doing, Matt. I know you're doing it. You've been doing it before I was even around at DAC. So hats off to you, brother. And I appreciate those kind words. I know you always have something great to say. So I'm checking the chat here. I want to appreciate everyone checking in the chat. Some great words. I appreciate all the kind words towards me and towards DAC. But it's right after 12. That's kind of the time frame I was hoping for. So like, when I mentioned with Ellen, I'm sure we'll definitely be in contact with whether that's Facebook or via email about tomorrow. We're very, very excited about tomorrow. It's going to be a time. I'll just say that. But other than that, I have nothing else. So we're going to jump on out of here and get back to being Rockstar Brokers. So